General Electric, currently the worst performer on the Dow Jones Industrials. Now, if you look at this intraday chart, you will see that it briefly dipped below $13 a share. Did I mark the time? I think I did. Just around, oh heck, I don't know, 10:18 a.m.
Yeah.
1280 something.
Boy, isn't that
not good?
Yeah.
For the year, it is also the biggest laggard as the industrial giant struggles to try and turn down what is a face-first faceplant. But who's, well, that's redundant, but who's really to blame for the sluggish performance? We have been wondering. Now Charlie Gasparino has some insight.
Well, I mean, listen, there's an interesting behind-the-scenes battle that continues to go on between Jeff Immelt, the CEO for the last 17 years, and the guy that was the CEO for, I guess, 30 years before, he was CEO for a long time before him, actually picked him as his successor, Jack Welch, the legendary Jack Welch. This battle is continuing to brew behind the scenes where, you know, friends of both men are pointing to the other guy saying it's his fault, and they're laying out the case why. I should point out I reached out to both. I reached out to Jack. He has no comment through his longtime spokeswoman. We did get a comment from Immelt, which was interesting. We should put the full screen up there. It basically says that you know, he's not going to have any comment at this time, but he still considers Jack Welch. Oh, there we go. Jeff will leave that debate to others. As you know, he has repeatedly said Jack was a great CEO. Jack is not saying that about Immelt, either publicly or privately. So behind the scenes, there is this battle that's brewing. And I gotta tell you, I know people close to Jack. He feels that he would like to get his side of the story out there, why he thinks Jeff Immelt screwed up the company.
Why hasn't he?
He feels, this is what they're telling me. Okay, Jack didn't tell me this, but friends of his are telling me that he feels somewhat handcuffed because guess who picked Immelt? It was Jack Welch. So he feels like anything he says is could come back and boomerang back in his face if he defends himself. I can tell you, I know friends of Immelt, friends of Jack, who are saying that because of the coverage, and you see this in the coverage, a lot of people are saying that Immelt was left a bad hand by Jack. You know,
on 9/11 he took over.
And plus, this was a huge company. It was sprawling. It was difficult to manage. It needed to downsize. And they're saying he handed this sort of monstrosity to Immelt, and you know, Immelt did the best with a weak hand. I can tell you that those people close to Jack, when they read that, are imploring him to go out publicly. One guy that is speaking publicly on behalf of Welch is Ken Langone, the financier, the former head of co-founder of Home Depot, and a former GE board member who I believe was relieved of his duties by Immelt unceremoniously, and it was so. I mean, that's how it's going. It's basically a public war of words between surrogates and behind the scenes to influence reporters onto who to place the blame the most. I will say this: if you want to blame Jack Welch for giving him a bad hand, that's fine. But you know, he was running this bad hand for 17 years, meaning Jeff Immelt. So I think it's kind of a hard argument to say that it's still Jack's fault 17 years after. That said, GE was big and sprawling, and it was at a bubble high. There's no doubt. I mean, analysts and investors were giving you points for just growing, you know, buying stuff, and so the stock was pumped up by the time he got it. But still, you know, some of the stuff we're finding now, like legacy issues in insurance and all that, you know, popping up at the last minute, that you can't lay that at Jack Welch's feet. That's insane. So that's where it is now. It's behind the scenes. I know Welch would like to talk. He feels handcuffed that he can't, according to his friends. Immelt is, you know, he's actually playing it a little more interestingly. You'll see him come out every now and then, although he doesn't really talk about the stock that much. So,
oh, here it is on your screen, $13.
And I think on the 20th they report earnings. That's going to be a tell. We're going to find out: are they going to break up the company? Are they going to keep it going? Is Buffett in there in any way, ring fencing the insurance assets as we reported?
Well, we reported it was
possible,
but not likely.
At this level?
At this level.
Yeah,
it's got to be $10.
Yeah.
Well, it got a little bit closer earlier today.
Right. So it's kind of a tragic story in this sense. I mean, listen, I'm not saying you should cry for the CEO. A lot of average people worked at GE, hundreds of thousands. They own the stock. The stock was, you know,
their 401ks.
It was in their 401ks.
It
was a dividend stock. That's why they kept it. You know, this does hurt average people when a company like this implodes.
I want to just quickly look at Spotify, and I hope you all understood what Colin Gillis was saying. just a few minutes ago. It is now at $149.32 for Spotify. Remember that the first print of the very